Hi there, my name's J. Ashley Smith. I'm the author of The Attic Tragedy that's out now from Meerkat Press. And I'm here to talk about an Australian wildlife experience. Now, I moved to Australia with my wife, Rosie, maybe 14, 15 years ago. And when I came here, I was a very sort of fresh-faced, typical English guy who'd heard all of the things about the spiders and snakes and all the kind of scary stuff that Australia is famous for. And when we first moved here, we lived in a converted train carriage in the bush, which is where I am now. So I'm sitting on our bit of land here. And it's pretty wild here, and I walked around kind of stealthy as a ninja, always completely freaking at the possibility of disturbing some spider or treading on a snake. And it took 1 or 2 months for me to kind of settle down and kind of ease into being here. And I saw a lot of spiders in that time, but didn't see any snakes, and I started to feel like I'd been gypped. I've been told all these stories about these terrifying snakes, and there are snakes in this area, but I hadn't seen any at all. And a few months into staying here, we hired canoes down at the local dam. So at the end of our road here, there's a big dam that goes off with tributaries that go off into the Wadbilliga wilderness, which is a very huge and beautiful national park. And we got canoes one day and followed one of the little inlets off the dam. And basically I looked across at the bank, and in this kind of secluded, completely desolate spot, the muddy bank of this river was completely covered in a blanket of red-bellied black snakes, which are very, very venomous, not aggressive, but very venomous. And there were literally just tens of them slithering all over each other and slipping down into the water and swimming. If you've ever seen a snake swim, it's a pretty disturbing sight if you're right next to it. It's very beautiful, but they were coming very close to our boat, and that was quite freaky. And the kind of coda to this story is, at the end of that year, a friend of my wife's, a German friend of my wife's, came to stay with us. And for New Year's Eve, we hired canoes and went quite a long way into Wadbilliga, and basically got as far in as we could go before having to pick up the canoes and walk. And we camped right on the edge of the river, and we sat there in the dark, kind of chatting in the rocks at the edge of the river. And I was, leaning back, this kind of posture. It's a terrible image here, but just kind of like leaning back on my hands, and while we were lying back there, a red-bellied black, just trying to get past us, slithered right between my arms and through the center of the group, which freaked us out, but Rosie and I calmed down quite quickly. But our German friend was inconsolable, and she zipped herself up in her sleeping bag. We didn't have tents, we were just sleeping out. So she zipped herself up into her sleeping bag and pulled the hood over and just zipped up the thing. So she just looked like this kind of ninja worm with a tiny little kind of circle in her face. But the hilarious thing was that it was a red and black sleeping bag. And so she basically had transformed herself into a giant red-bellied black snake, and we teased her mercilessly that this was gonna attract every red-bellied black from miles around. And suffice it to say, she didn't sleep well that night.
Inconceivable!